Hey guys, welcome back to Life and Bullshit. I want to talk about something that might hit close to home for a lot of us. Have you ever wondered if your anxiety is showing up in your child? Because if you're a parent or even someone who grew up in a family where emotions weren't always handled in the healthiest way, that question can feel heavy. It's uncomfortable, and honestly, it can bring up a lot of guilt. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, especially when I watch my daughter, my oldest. Um, I notice how quickly her mind can jump to fear, how certain situations feel bigger to her than they might look from the outside. And maybe you've seen something familiar in your own child, or even yourself. Because when you recognize that feeling, it's not just observation, it's familiarity. You know what it feels like when your brain starts warning you that something is wrong, even when everything around you seems calm. You know what it's like to need reassurance. You feel something small suddenly become overwhelming or hard to shake. And that's when the question starts creeping in. Is this something they were born with? Did they learn this from me? Did they pick up my stress before they even understood it? Did I accidentally teach them to be afraid? But here's what I've been realizing: generational anxiety doesn't usually isn't about one person causing it, it's bigger than that. Anxiety can move through families in different ways. Sometimes it's biological, sometimes it's learned behavior, and sometimes it's just the result of people doing the best they could with what they were given. A lot of us were raised by people who didn't have the tools to regulate their emotions. Maybe no one ever asked them how they were feeling. Or maybe they were taught that worrying meant they were being responsible or protective. So they passed down what they knew. Not because they wanted to hurt us, but because they didn't know another way. And now here we are, trying to raise emotionally healthy kids while also figuring out our emotions at the same time. Because it's not just about your child's feelings, it's about what their feelings bring up in you. When your child panics, you might react too. When they say, I can't do this, you might feel the urge to step in and fix it immediately. And when they're scared, you might find yourself offering reassurance over and over because you know how painful anxiety can feel. But sometimes, without realizing it, we send the message that they can't handle those feelings on their own. And that's hard to sit with because your instinct is to protect them, to make the fear go away, to keep them from feeling what you felt. But what if our role isn't always to remove the anxiety? What if it's to help them move through it? To show them, I can feel anxious and still be okay. I can feel uncomfortable and still get through it. I don't have to believe every scary thought my brain gives me. And maybe we're learning those things right alongside them. There's also a difference between passing down anxiety and passing down shame about anxiety. Having a sensitive, reactive brain doesn't mean something is wrong with you or your child. What matters is how we respond to it. We don't want our kids to feel embarrassed for needing help. We also don't want anxiety making every decision for them. We want them to understand that fear is a feeling, not always a warning, and not always the truth, and definitely not something that has to control their life. One of the hardest parts of parenting is realizing that our kids can bring up parts of us that still need healing. You might catch yourself saying something your parents used to say. You might notice yourself becoming controlling when you feel overwhelmed. You might expect the worst because at some point that felt safer than being caught off guard. Have you ever reacted to your child and then thought, wow, that sounded exactly like my mom or dad? Now, it doesn't make you a bad parent, it makes you aware. And awareness is where change starts. Breaking generational anxiety doesn't mean becoming perfect. It might look like pausing before you react. It might look like saying, I see that you're scared and I believe you can handle this, instead of immediately fixing it. It might look like apologizing when your anxiety takes over. It might look like getting support for yourself so your child doesn't have to carry what you haven't processed yet. And maybe this cycle doesn't end because everything suddenly becomes calm. Maybe it ends because someone finally starts talking about it. I don't know if I pass certain sensitivities down to my children. I mean, that thought still hurts. But I do know this. I have the chance to pass down something different too. Emotional awareness, honesty, repair, the ability to name a feeling instead of being controlled by it, the understanding that asking for help is okay, and the belief that anxiety might be part of our story, but it doesn't get to decide how the story ends. What if breaking the cycle isn't about being a perfectly calm parent? What if it's about noticing the pattern and choosing to respond a little differently than what you were taught? So, if you ever seen your anxiety show up in your child and immediately blamed yourself, you're not alone. But guilt isn't what changes things. Awareness does. Support does. Practice does. And the way you respond today can become something healthier that your child carries forward. If this episode resonated with you, follow Life and Bullshit so the next conversation finds you. And I'll talk to you next time.